You should get a barber, and there's multiple reasons why. I remember back in the day when I was actually getting my first gym coach, for example, I had no idea what I was doing, had no idea where to look, and I actually found my first gym coach on Twitter. I just happened to come across a Twitter post where this guy was offering a select few people to join kind of his test run in being a coach. And at the time, I didn't think, well, do I even need a coach? What's the point of a coach? I was a broke college student. Can I really afford to be giving this guy my money? But I looked and kind of did my due diligence on the guy, and I figured out what some of his views are, or what his lifestyle was. And I kind of got into my head that the reason that I would be giving this guy money wasn't just for gym coaching. So I settled on myself and I said, you know what? I'm going to give this guy, no matter what, my money because I like who he is, I like what he represents, and I want to support him. If he turns out to be a great coach, that's a great added benefit, and I'll just get better and stronger because of him. But if he's a terrible coach, I'm not going to feel bad because I'm supporting a guy who's trying to start a company, start a business, and whose views and ideas I actually agree with. And so that was kind of my mindset going in, and it shows you that the money in exchange of value for goods and services isn't always, in my opinion, the best way to go about living your life. There are, or should be, sometimes other motives behind giving people money in just an exchange of value. So another example is your barber. So a lot of people that I know go, well, I don't need a barber, I'll just cut my own hair. You know, if you have a haircut like mine, the skin fade, it's kind of simple, and sure, maybe your girlfriend, your wife can probably cut your own hair, and that's going to be perfectly fine, and congratulations, you'll save anywhere from $35 to $100 a month. Great. But I don't just get my hair cut, one, because I think barbers do a better job than myself and anyone else that I know, but it's about the relationship. Your barber is kind of like a mailman. If you ever need directions, you don't go to a gas station, you try to find a mailman or a UPS store, because those are the people who are constantly, actively going through the city, who know every address on the back of the hand. That guy is going to find you the place that you need to get to if for some reason else you can't find it. The barber shop is very useful for building relationships and building community in a new town. Your barber sees thousands of people within a week. A lot of them are recurring people, sometimes good business people who he has established rapport and relationships with. And if you develop a friendship with your barber, he's going to want to help you become friends with some of his other clients because he wants to retain you as a client, assuming you're a good client. I'll give you an example. When I moved to Orlando, the first barber that I ever had, I ended up sticking with the entire 4 years that I lived there. And that barber moved around. He used to live very close to my house, then he moved 20 minutes away. And some person might think, well, why would you not just find a closer barber? And of course, if he was like 30 or 40 minutes away, then I probably would have, but 20 minutes wasn't so bad of a drive. But it's because me and that barber developed a good rapport, a good friendship, and often had kind of an exchange of ideas. So occasionally we would go out to bars together and try to pick up chicks. I remember during the lockdowns, he built an at-home gym. And so he allowed me to go and work out at his at-home gym and would cut my hair at his at-home gym when he wasn't allowed to. And of course, I tipped him very well because no one else had a barber at the time. I've helped him with business advice. He's helped me with other things in my life and just kind of been there for me. So it became more of a relationship instead of just an exchange of goods and services, which is how I think things should be. The other cool thing about getting a haircut and why you should get a barber is, especially if you're in the political world, you get a good read of the room of what people are talking about. For example, I found out through the barbershop that central bank digital currencies were incredibly unpopular and were talked about by pretty much everyone in the room. The barbershop that I went to for quite some time probably had anywhere from 7 to 10 barbers in there all at once. And they would always have different politically based conversations or kind of just guy talk, right? You're either talking about women, religion, history, or politics, right? And a lot of times the political conversations would come up, and it was cool because it was in a very Hispanic part of town. And so a lot of the barbers there were Hispanic. And so it gave me a good read of the room of what some of the local people, especially the Hispanics in the area, were thinking about current policies and political ideologies. I'm in Florida, DeSantis is the governor. So what people thought of DeSantis, how he was doing certain policies that he was proposing or implementing. It was a good read of the room. So when I think of doing something as simple as just getting a haircut, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm just coming here because I need a haircut. I'm thinking of it in a multifaceted way. I want to get to know the barber. I want to befriend the barber because that is a relationship that you can really have and really grow. You should want to be friends with someone who's going to touch your head and shape your hair and how you look, 2 to 3 times a month, right? That should be someone who you want to be your friend. But on the flip side, the barbershop is a good analytical tool for figuring out the mood of the public and kind of of the room, reading the room. And that was really useful for me. How different mythologies build, conspiracy theories that are being talked about, different news cycles, whatever the top news is of that week. When you go into the barbershop, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear the opinions. You're going to hear people debating, arguing in a very friendly fashion because it's all business and everyone there has good relationships. And you kind of become your own resident expert for the barbershop because if you have a specific opinion, then when you do come in, everyone recognizes you and starts asking you questions. In fact, I just started taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and everyone knows me as the lobbyist political guy. So anytime there's a conversation around politics, often people will pull me inside and be like, hey, so what do you know about this? Especially when it comes to cryptocurrency as well. I always get people going, hey, so is now a good time to invest in Bitcoin, right? And that's perfectly okay. That's why hobbies and relationships like going to a barbershop, not that that's a hobby, but you get what I'm saying, are so important. Getting out of your house, not being a lone wolf, building community adds so much value and so much benefit that when I think of going to the barber and I think of, paying anywhere from $30 to $50, I'm not thinking, man, that's such an expensive haircut. All I'm thinking about is, okay, how am I going to make use of the experience I'm about to have? Who am I going to get to know? How do I develop a relationship? And what can I gain from the information in this barbershop? I think you should approach your entire life in the way you do business like that. Of course, certain things are strictly transactional, and that's okay. Being transactional is perfectly fine. But there are other things in life that I think you should look at more through a lens of relationships and environment more so than the money that you're paying. I'm already getting a value. I got a value from my gym coach. I got a value from my barber. I get a value from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But there's additional value in community and discussion and whatever else you want to call it. There's additional value that almost is exponential and is completely based on the effort that you're going to put into those relationships. If you do go to a barber, don't just sign up for a random barber every time. Don't just go in there and not talk to anybody. Make an effort. Befriend people because it could be incredibly useful in the long run. Just like how when I no longer had a gym membership because gyms were closed, I went to my barber's house and he allowed me to work out at his house. That is the power of relationships, and that's why you need to get a barber.